Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the live stream next to the stream by the birds. I do have my dog out in the backyard with me again, and sun is shining. It's a really nice day. It is WrestleMania Sunday, but more importantly, it's Palm Sunday. So we're gonna do some of the original uh, some of the original things that we were going to do. Sorry, someone was Facebook calling me there. Poor timing. But yeah. So we're going to do the main reading, the main devotional that we normally do. But then we are also then going to look at some Bible verses about Palm Sunday and what Palm Sunday really is. What it's about, why we celebrate it, and why this time of the year is actually really, really exciting. Hey, Samantha. So, yeah, without further ado, thank you for joining. Right now, we got a small crew, but that's okay. I said I was actually just going to start it right now, so, I got started a little bit early. That's very rare for me. Normally, I expect things to be late. But it is April 5th, Palm Sunday, so I'm going to start off with today's devotional, as we normally do. So April 5th, from Jesus is Calling Again. When I say words like I or me or whatever, it's not me. It's as if Jesus is talking through it. That's how this devotional is read. So, let me fill you in with my love, joy, and peace. These are glorious gifts flowing from my living presence. Though you are in an earthen vessel, I designed you to be filled with heavenly contacts. Your weakness is not a deterrent to be filled with my spirit. On the contrary, it provides an opportunity for my power to shine forth more brightly. As you go through this day, trust me to provide the strength you need moment by moment. Don't waste energy wondering whether you are adequate for today's journey. My spirit within you is more sufficient to handle whatever this day may bring. That is the basis for your confidence. In quietness, spend time alone with me. In confident trust, relying on my sufficiency is your strength. Some Bible verses that inspired that. 2 Corinthians 4:7. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that the surpassing greatness of the power will be of God and not of ourselves. Then Ephesians 3:16. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with the power through his Spirit in your inner beings. Then Isaiah 15. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The Holy One of Israel says, in repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength. But you would have none of it. So let's have it. A few things, the whole don't waste your energy on wondering if you're adequate for today's journey. The Bible talks a lot about just worrying about today, not worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to have its own issues. So what's going on today? There's times when I feel inadequate to sit out here and read this devotion and read the Bible with you guys, because I know that I have a learning disability when it comes to reading and writing, and it's one of those things that in the back of my mind it's still sitting there going like, no, you shouldn't do it, somebody else should do it, you just let somebody else do it. And it's like, but no, I'm liking it. I love doing this. I'm actually really enjoying this as part of my routine more than I thought I would. So yeah, the Don't waste energy wondering whether or not you're adequate for today's journey. Sometimes you just gotta Nike slogan it and just do it. And then trust that God and His Spirit is sufficient to handle whatever today may bring. Today, I gotta go to the grocery store. I don't gotta buy much, but like we're running low on some meat and some other things, so yeah, I gotta do that. There's a few other things, but sometimes to handle whatever today may bring, there's gonna be a lot of silence, a lot of isolation still. It wreaks havoc on our mental health a lot of times. I know I'm struggling with falling asleep at any sort of normal time now, and like my sleep is all out of whack. I was planning on getting up to live stream the church live today, and I slept through it. I had my body sleep schedule, all in like a routine before this, and now it's all thrown out of whack. But today it's cooking. It's how do I show my wife, that I love her? How do I focus on God? How do I not get through the day? How do I not survive the day? Although that might be what your challenge is today, is surviving the day, and God's Spirit is sufficient to help us handle that. Maybe there's something more. Now we're gonna read the proverb for today. It is the 5th, right? It's step o'clock. No, it's not. Alright, so it's the 5th. So we're going to be reading from Proverbs 5. And today, in Proverbs 5, there's not actually a little blue verse that goes back to the New Testament or directly to Jesus. Not saying that it's not in there, but it's not, the blue part's not highlighted in there. So, once again, Proverbs 5. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. For a second, I thought I was going to say double. I want coffee. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. For she cares nothing about the path of life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I am about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor, and you will lose the merciless people all... What? Merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. In the end, you will groan in anguish, and disease consumes your body. You will say, "How I hated discipline! If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace." Drink water from your own well. Share your love only with your wife. Why spill the water of your springs in the streets, having sex with just anyone? You should reserve it for yourselves. Never share it with strangers. Let your wife be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. Why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman? For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. All right. So, in today's Proverbs, it's, if you're single, you might be like, well, dating, that's the way it happens, right? How am I supposed to love and have sex with only my wife if I'm single? Or, you know what, more importantly, male, female, like porn has, well, let's go back. Hopefully, maybe you might not always be single. So just being promiscuous yourself, going out, doing whatever, there is something special about discovering each other's bodies and sex and stuff like that for the first time when you're married. And that's one of the reasons why it's laid out there. And two, there are diseases and stuff like that you can spread, kind of like social isolation. You don't want to give your wife or your husband STDs or some other disease because you're doing these other things. And there are chances and risks of becoming broken before you can ever really experience that sort of intimate love with someone that you are going to spend the rest of your life with. I came into my marriage kind of broken, and it has affected things. Was not expecting to talk about this at all today. I didn't pre-read the Psalms and I forgot what it was talking about, so this is kind of a little bit off the top of my head. I was more excited to talk about Palm Sunday, but I was raped early in my high school career, and it messed with me. I didn't really understand the value and the importance of sex, and that's one of those things that's still kind of prevalent in my life. I've actually talked to counselors and stuff like that, and talked to some professionals, and Candace is really gracious. She knows a lot more of the dirty details, and it's something that we work through together sometimes. And then my father, I found out right before we got married, was actually, he went around and he is a convicted rapist. And so like that type of stuff, my father, my biological father, was the victimizer, and I'm a result of possibly a victim. You know, there's a lot of evil in the world, and nothing cuts as deeply and spiritually and as close to your identity as a lot of these sexual abuses and the sexual immorality, and that's why it was getting talked about there. And this is something I wasn't going to talk about either, but in the whole like pro-life movement and all that, I care more about aftercare than I care about kind of what happens beforehand. And if you want my opinion, I think the church needs to do a better job of caring for people that have made the decision or to either like keep their child or not keep their child. But I know I, especially with who my father was, have every right not to be alive today. With all the arguments and everything going out, my personal life, me being alive right now, is thanks to my mom not choosing that. So, but the church's stance, I think we need to do a better job of caring and loving the people on the other side. And then the other side of this, with Psalm 5, everyone that got in there, this kind of got unexpectedly heavy. So anyone that's still here, thank you for sticking with me. It also seems like today it's talking a lot about pornography and avoiding that. Why waste your time with images on the screen when you have someone that you can love and pour into? A lot of marriages are broken down because of, well, one, pornography leads to a lot of males not being able to perform in the bedroom, but two, it's if we spend our time and our energy there and not with our wives, not appreciating them fully, we're letting part of them, we're not appreciating part of them, right? And that goes the same way on the other side too, right? I know a lot of females are partaking in porn a whole lot more than the media kind of lets you think. I have seen more females on Facebook and Messenger promote the whole free Pornhub thing. And, when we talk about the internet and all of that and our laws, how can we protect stuff? Pornhub actually has one of their head bases in Montreal. So we as Canadians get to vote and get to help regulate stuff, because there's a lot of revenge and rape, like what we were talking about earlier on, that ends up making it onto the site, and it's real and it's damaging and it haunts people. In my life, I didn't have the cameras there following me around. It's something that I can forget about pretty easily, and then I don't have to get confronted with the images on what was done to me. But some people, they don't get to escape that because it's on there and it's staying on there and it's not getting punished. For me, after I went through what I went through, I ended up doing my co-op at the time at the family transition place, a place where women that have been in abusive relationships can go as they try to reestablish their life. And I was part of this program that went around to schools teaching kids about abusive relationships and how to navigate through them. And I got to act, and that's still, like, that whole season of my life is one of my favorite seasons, because it led not only to me finding God, and I wasn't a Christian at that point in time, but I've been asking a lot of questions for years and years and years. Not only did I find God, but I also ended up finding Candace. And it was that process of healing, not contributing more to the problem, but finding ways to help other people get out of it. And a lot of times, sometimes in abusive relationships, people don't realize that they're being abusive, right? The world says, watch this pornography, it's great. But sometimes it's not, and it can be very damaging to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but also to your partner, your future partner, or your current partner, even your past partner sometimes. There's a lot on this. This is a very, it's an interesting topic to get into, but that's what happens when you don't read ahead of time. You just read it with everyone. Proverbs 5 is pretty intense on that, and it calls it out pretty plainly. They didn't have pornography like we have now. They had like temple prostitutes and stuff, which was very different. But we're going to switch gears now. Largely because, well, one, I wasn't planning on that, and I don't have a good transition. There's no good segue. Yeah. We're gonna switch to what today's all about. Today's all about WrestleMania. No, that's tonight. But today is about Palm Sunday. So Palm Sunday, what is it in a nutshell? It's the Sunday before Easter. Good Friday, it will be this Friday coming up, and it's when Jesus gets put up on the cross. And then Easter is when he rises from the grave, which our faith is all hinged on. But today, Palm Sunday, is the beginning of the celebration for most Christians. Today is the day that Jesus went into Jerusalem and he was cheered. He was a hero. He brought somebody back from the dead. He is working with God. And people loved him, cheered him, thought he was the greatest thing in the world. He was. But slowly, over the course of the week, as he challenged people, called truth out, was not willing to just go willy-nilly into this, that, or the other. He wanted to work with God, and he called out wrong. He called out sin where he saw it, and that led to people going like, we just thought that you were going to let us know that everything we were doing was okay. Well, now you're telling us that, ripping people off is bad? Well, forget you. We're turning our backs on you. What do you mean we're doing this and that? And slowly, the people went from cheering to booing to hating. And eventually, his closest friends. Hey, Candace. I talked a bit about you earlier on today. Jesus' closest friends ended up turning their back on him as well. And that's something I think a lot of us can really connect with Jesus. Somewhere where Jesus can meet us is that, one day people might really, really like us and things are going good, but then slowly people will turn and people will end up betraying us. And sometimes we even get betrayed by our closest friends. Jesus' disciples eventually ended up turning their back on him. But that's not what today's about, how people liked Jesus. So I'm going to read from John 12, and I'm only going to read part of it, but we're going to start right at number 1. Once again, I didn't do a whole lot of work to plan this out. I was just like, I want to talk about Palm Sunday. Jesus gets celebrated, even though even his closest friends are going to turn on him within the week. But when they turn on him, that's when he shows how much he really does love us. No matter how much junk you have done against him, if you've actively tried to get people to lose him, you've denied him, God is still willing to forgive you. And he shows that with what happens on Friday. But today is Palm Sunday. So, John 12:1. 6 days before the Passover celebration began, Jesus arrived in Bethany, the home of Lazarus, a man he had raised from the dead. A dinner was prepared in Jesus' honor. Martha served, and Lazarus was among those who ate with him. Then Mary took the 12-ounce jar, an expensive perfume, and made essence of nard, and she anointed Jesus' feet with it, wiping his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance, but Judas Iscariot, I can never say his name properly, the disciple who would soon betray him, said, "That perfume was worth a year's wages. It should have been sold for the money and given to the poor." I've confession time too. The whole touchdown Jesus, something that's like, trying to lift Jesus up. I've looked at that and been like, that's stupid. Why do they spend all the money on that? Why couldn't they give it to the poor? And I remember saying it almost word for word, like what you just said here. And I was like, oh. Yeah. And it was kind of conflicting. Like, is the statue the same thing? I don't know. But yeah, just reading that over again, I was like, yeah, okay. I don't know. Maybe they had something right, because I've gone out of my way to see Touchdown Jesus, and they have like a women's shelter and stuff like that there too. So it's not just all about Touchdown Jesus, but it's a beacon bringing honor to him. So I don't know. I'm still kind of conflicted about that. I'm not going to be on. I'll be honest. Holy cow! One of the other things I was thinking about too with that is Judas worrying more about money than about everything else there. And this whole COVID-19 stuff, we're doing this. There's going to be a financial sacrifice, and it's going to be huge. Not necessarily that we have much of a say in it, but Yeah, if we focus just on money, we're going to miss the bigger point, right? And that's what was going on with Judas there. So continuing on, 12:6. Not that he cared for the poor, he was a thief, and since he was in charge of the disciples' money, he often stole some for himself. Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. She did this in preparation for my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." When all the people heard of Jesus' arrival, they flocked to him to see him, and to also see Lazarus, the man Jesus had raised from the dead. Then the leading priests decided to kill Lazarus too, for it was because of him that many of the people had deserted them and believed in Jesus. So, Lazarus is dead. Jesus showed up a few days later. They're having his funeral. Jesus cries, and it's this big deal. And then Jesus walks in, and he just commands Lazarus to come back. And Jesus walks in. Then, you know how bad news spreads? Well, this guy had a dead guy come back to life. Lazarus is a walking zombie. Jesus has raised this guy from the dead, and now, people are like, this guy is amazing, and he must be from God. And that's one of the reasons why, he's there. And right away, the people in power aren't willing to even entertain the fact that Jesus could be from God. They're more worried about their power and their authority. And they're not only plotting to kill Jesus, but they're plotting to kill Lazarus too. The next day, the news that Jesus was on the way to Jerusalem swept through the city. A large crowd of Passover visitors took palm branches and went down to the road to meet him. They shouted, "Praise God! Blessing on the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hail to the King of Israel!" And that's why today's called Palm Sunday. Jesus found a young donkey and rode on it, fulfilling the prophecy that said, "Don't be afraid, people of Jerusalem. Look, your king is coming, riding on a donkey's colt." His disciples didn't understand at the time that this was the fulfillment of the prophecy. But after Jesus entered into his glory, they remembered what had happened and realized that these things had been written about him. Many in the crowd had seen Jesus call Lazarus from the tomb, raising him from the dead, and they were telling others about it. That was the reason so many people went out to meet him, because they had heard about this miraculous sign. Then the Pharisees said to each other, "There's nothing we can do. Look, everyone's gone after him." Their power is now threatened. So, in the coming days leading up to Friday, the crowds turn. They stop chanting and cheering. Once again, in this translation, it says, "Praise God! Blessings on the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hail to the King of Israel." Hail to the King of Israel. They recognize him as King, coming in the name of the Lord, yet they turn their back on him. Even Jesus' closest friends, disciples, ended up turning their back on him. And they were there. The people that were in the crowd were there, and they were telling others that Jesus actually raised Lazarus from the dead. And Jesus still, on Friday, decided to die for them. While we're here in this quarantine, there's a lot of things that we can get out of a lot of this. One of the challenges I have for you is, are you still holding on to bitterness from someone that's done something to betray you? My challenge is for you to let it go. There's a lot of things in the Bible that talks about loving your enemies, so on and so forth. And today, on this Palm Sunday, we have a chance to praise the King and thank him for everything that he's done in our lives. But there are times when I personally reward God's faithfulness with betrayal. And God died for me anyway. Nothing you do will be able to separate you from God's love. Nothing that you can do on this earth, I think, can separate you from God's love. But yeah, during this time as we're breaking free, I appreciate you guys for joining me. There's a lot of different people joining from not only Orangeville, but all over the place. So thank you all. Once again, if you have any prayer requests, please leave them in the comments or send me a private message. If there's anything that you'd like me to cover, please let me know. But right now, I'm gonna end it by praying, and you guys can join me, say your own little prayers. Hopefully you guys can hear the birds. We've had like a lot of birds really close by. I know I'm doing it with my headphones on today because there's still a lot of traffic, and I'm not too far away from the road. So yeah, anyways, all right, so I'm gonna pray for you guys and let you guys actually see the stream that I'm sitting next to. Hey JC, awesome Jesus Christ. I thank you for being willing to correct us and being willing to discipline us, even though we don't like it. Who really likes getting disciplined, maybe course corrected and told that they're wrong? It can be really challenging, and I thank you for calling us out. I thank you that we can rely on you, and you are enough to get us through today, and we can trust that you'll be enough to get us through tomorrow. For our healthcare workers that are going in not knowing exactly how this virus has spread in their workplace, not knowing who's going to be coming through the doors at what stages, worrying about ventilators and masks and gloves, I pray that they can rely on you, that you can help protect them, get them through. And the ones that have gotten the virus, Lord, I pray that you can heal them and heal them quickly. I pray that as they get healed and they get immune, you can fill them with so much strength and encouragement to be able to help those in the coming waves of this virus, that them getting it now is actually a blessing, that they can have the time to recover and rest and be motivated to be on the front line in the days to come. I pray that you can honor them so many ways. For all the people that work at the grocery stores, I'm getting a little bit nervous just knowing that I might need to go to the grocery store today. The people that have to go in there for their daily work, the people that are driving trucks and that are working in the Walmarts and the grocery stores, even the Tim Hortons. Today I talked about wanting coffee. Lord, I lift them all up and I pray for safety and protection, not only in Orangeville, but around the world, in all the different places that are frontline workers in other ways, these essential services. And I thank you for all the ways that you've supported and encouraged me. And Lord, I pray that we can see you today, that we can find places to celebrate you. And throughout the week, as there's moments where we want to turn our back on you, turn our back on our family and on some of our friends, that we can remember that you were still willing to die for us, that you were still willing to give up your life so that we can be connected to you, so that we don't have to pay the full punishment of sin, that we don't have to do that, but we get to spend eternity with you. That you can work on our pride, our selfishness, our anger, our bitterness, and you can bring us joy, forgiveness, goodness, self-control, all the fruits of the spirits, which I can remember when I'm singing the song, but I'm not going to sing the song right now. Lord, thank you that the sun's shining. Thank you that the birds are cawing and singing. You're awesome, Lord. And I thank you that we can have this time together by the stream. And I thank you that you're the living water, and I pray that, especially during this time, our roots can be connected to your living water. be our gardener. Let us be your gardener. And let us embrace the weeds, the sin in our life that one day you will remove. But for now, we might just have to live with them. And help protect us from getting more weeds into our hearts. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Please leave comments down below throughout the day. I'm going to try to pray for everyone that I can see on the live stream. Believe it or not, I'm still actually figuring some of this stuff out. I know it's been a little while, but you guys coming in and joining me every afternoon has been great. I think I'm going to be doing this pretty much every day that I can. If it's raining, I'm not going to. And if my data runs out, because I'm just far enough away from my Wi-Fi router that I have to do this on data, maybe I can mix it up and get a bit closer to the house. It's not like you guys actually see the stream while I'm talking. I'm not reading it like this, right? So, but anyways, thank you very, very much. God bless. Please, leave comments. And thank you, April, for joining. You guys are so encouraging in so many different ways. So God bless. Later. And have a great sunny Palm Sunday and Easter week to follow. This, even though it's weirder, this is bigger than Christmas.